Well, welcome. I've got my bowl of ice cream and my Bible. And I figured, why not let people join me in my studying? Yesterday, I actually started my first day um, in a 6 month Bible reading thing. Chat. I don't want to say challenge because it's not really a challenge, but I started it because I want to read through the whole Bible, and I actually got to stick to it. So obviously, I'm in the beginning. I'm in Genesis. The first day was, let's see, I gotta pull up my. Yesterday was Genesis 1 through 5. Today is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 6 chapters. On screen here, we've got my personal notes that I'm just taking as trying to like study it so that I actually like apply it to myself versus reading it, being like, what did I just read? Then reading it again and being like, still, what did I just read? Uh, Writing it out is actually helping me a lot. Really dig deep into the Bible. Yeah, Genesis 1 is obviously the beginning. Genesis 2 is Adam and Eve. Genesis 3 is the fall. Genesis 4 is Cain and Abel. Genesis 5 was the lineage from Adam to Noah. And that's where I ended, was the introduction to Noah in the lineage. I didn't stream yesterday, so I'm going to have to redo the first one. But these notes are only for Genesis 1 because these take me a lot longer than just reading. But I also thought it would be cool to have video of me reading the whole Bible. So I'm like, why not read it out loud? And hopefully I can focus enough still, but this is super informal. I've got no really plan for it. But yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which is the whole story of Adam. I mean, not Adam. The whole story of Noah. Lots of lineage. Right up to Abraham. Which is cool. First day was just Adam and Eve. Then now, second day is Noah. January 19th. Okay. I'm going to take one more bite of ice cream. Need to remember not to chew in the microphone. Gotta get my reading voice. And my big jug of water. Genesis 6. Genesis 6. When the human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both of them and the earth. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. I'm going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark. You and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every bird, every kind of animal, and every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you and be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. That's kind of crazy. Like, that's kind of a crazy sad story. Starting on 6 is just like, yeah, the human, like he just created the humans, this cool, huge, literally world creating change. And they're just like, yeah, the humans suck. Verse 6, the Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. This is a tough one to swallow. Because I think of some people might use that as like, well, God, God knew what was going to happen. He's all knowing. Like, how did he regret that? How did he regret making something if he knew it was going to happen, right? And there's, I mean, based on my knowledge, I don't have a good answer to that. But obviously, the Lord is all knowing. And the Lord had a plan for that. And I kind of think, I don't know, it makes me think of two things. One is like specifically for us looking back on Noah and the promise. It helps us learn that, and it helps us understand our wicked ways and our evilness. Um, Two is just the whole thing about it pointing to Jesus, the flood, and I don't know. It's crazy. And just the fact, like looking ahead at his promise after he destroys the whole earth, and then he promises never to do it again. It's like us looking back. It's like there's no question that he's gonna do it. Like imagine if that never happened, and you're like, wait a minute, like what if we could be so bad that God destroyed the whole earth, or like what, or just the fact that God could destroy the whole earth at any time because he's God, but he will never flood the whole earth again. I guess it is flood the earth, not destroy the earth. But then also just to show God's faithfulness that even though the earth is terrible, he still, he keeps Noah and his family. And that just shows God's faithfulness when we are faithful to him. And there's a huge moral question of like, well, why would God do that? Blah blah blah. But it's the answer of God is God. And because he created everything, like literally 2 or 5 sections ago, we just read about God created the whole earth, which means he has authority over everything, which means he demands respect. And if we aren't going to follow him, then the punishment of that is death, which we learn later with Jesus and everything. But it's showing that right now, which is kind of cool. Not cool that the punishment of sin is death, but cool that it kind of the New Testament, Old Testament, they combine together. And then there's so I made up this term. I literally just picked a random term. What did I say? NNP, which means not necessary point, which means that I'm going to throw out crazy points and talk about stuff in the Bible, maybe throw some crazy theories. But the ultimate purpose of the Bible, or what we teach as Christians, is the gospel of Jesus and glorifying God. So when I say a topic is NNP, it means, yes, it's obviously very important because it's in the Word of God, and it's worth pondering on and discussing, but not something to split our churches on. And I'm not going to sit and dwell on it forever because it's not a necessary point of the Bible. But so this is an NNP right here. Beginning of 6 is just the sons of God in general. Like, you could theorize on this forever and ever. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful. It's like some other beings that weren't humans. Um, Also, the Nephilim. I don't know how you say it. Nephilim. It just like throws in, yeah, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. They were heroes of old, men of renown. It's just like mind blowing, and it's like, who are these people that are basically never talked about again? But it's an NNP because it's like, that doesn't, whatever the answer to that is, one, we can't find it. Two, doesn't change the message of the Bible. But it's fun to think about and theorize on. But then we have the well-known story of Noah. He was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. He walked faithfully with God. Could you imagine being that person that God calls out, like, yeah, you're walking faithfully with me? One specific reason I love that, throughout the whole Bible, the fact that God points out certain people that are very faithful is like, it gives me personally, something to point my life towards. Like, I would love to be called out by God, like this, or David. This is a man after God's own heart. Like, yeah, I want to be a man after God's own heart. I want to be a righteous man, blameless among the people. If the entire world was corrupt, I want to be the last one there. That sounded a little selfish, but like, I think I got my point across. Just something for me to like to look towards, to strive for as a Christian. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on the earth had corrupted their ways. This kind of makes me think about, it's so easy nowadays to instantly go, our world is so messed up. Like, our world sucks. Like, nothing goes right, blah, blah, blah. Especially, like, specifically now when I'm recording this. Seems like every day there's stuff going on. I'm not going to specify, but to the point where I'm, like, getting sick and tired of hearing stuff because it's all sounds bad. Or 2020 with COVID and everything. It's like it felt like everything was bad. Every day was bad. But it's never as bad as this. Like, the entire world was corrupt and evil. And Noah was the only one. Like, no matter how evil the world is, think of how many Christians are out there, um, spreading the word of God and doing that. And it's like that we're so exponentially growing that that's not going to change. We're not going to somehow dwindle down to one family of Christians. That's so like encouraging to me. And obviously God's work is never done spreading the gospel, but thinking of how many Christians there actually are in the world spreading the gospel right now, and kind of puts my duty in perspective, and kind of why I want to start doing this more, videoing, hoping to get out to anyone, because the internet is a scary place, but it's also a way to just instantly connect to millions of people. And if I could spread the gospel to 100 people, I'd be amazed, but hopefully more than that. I don't know. I was just thinking, could you imagine Noah's reaction to God saying, I'm going to put an end to all the people? So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all the people, for the earth is filled with violence. Noah's just like, oh. Like, it doesn't, obviously doesn't say anything about what Noah says. It just says he does what God commands him to. But just imagine Noah's reaction, just like, what, you mean like everyone? Like everyone. I also imagine like how sucky would Noah's life be, trying to live faithfully when literally everyone else is evil. It's like the man's he's probably been through a lot. I would have to think so. And then of course we see God's detailed perfection. He loves being precise, giving him the exact commands of how to build ark. Now granted, yes, it's because he likes to be precise, but also Noah's probably like, what kind of ark? How big? You said two of every animal. Am I supposed to like measure all of the animals and me- figure out how to build the ark? And God's like, no, I'll give you the measurements. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. If anyone, if you have never been to the Ark Encounter in, I think it is in Kentucky. A year ago, I was in Kentucky for a month, and at the end of it, I went to the Ark Encounter, and that thing is just absolutely mind blown. My head was filled with information by the end of it, because they explained so much about how the Ark might have functioned and stored all the animals, and it's so hard to believe in the moment when you're reading this, like, he fit two of every animal. Like, how did the lions and the zebras not, how did the zebras not get killed by the lions, things like that. And it actually explained like, this is how he could have got two of every animal. It's just so like eye-opening, and it changes the way I read the Bible. It's pretty crazy. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife's sons and wives with you, and your sons' wives with you. not only every animal, every kind of food that is to be eaten, and stored away as food for you and for them. Because like he had to get the plant lives. I mean, God probably regrew the plants, but some plants wouldn't have survived 40 days and 40 nights. Gotta make sure my ice cream doesn't melt. Okay, now on to 7. I ate too fast, I can't breathe. Okay. Genesis chapter 7. The Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate. A male and its mate. And also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made." And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife's sons. Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days the flood waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day all the springs of the ground. Nope, that's not right. On that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. Every living thing that moved on the land perished. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him. Only Noah was left, and those with him on the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him. Oh, this is 8. I forgot. Genesis chapter 8. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark, and sent out a raven. Okay. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water. Then he sent out a dove. Gotta turn the page. Then he sent out a dove. I'll get this sentence at one point. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the ark was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground, and all the birds, everything that moves on land, came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood." and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. That was a lot. My brain has a million different things to say, but my ice cream's melting. Before I go on, I'm just gonna, or before I go back, I'm just gonna keep reading, finish them, or at least finish 9. Ate the ice cream too fast again. We're halfway. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth, and on all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal, and each human being too. I demand an accounting for the life of another human being. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood. Whoever sheds blood. Sorry. Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind. That was a confusing sentence. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you. A covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on earth." So God said to Noah, "This is the sign." So God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on earth." The sons of Noah. That's a title. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered over the whole earth. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backwards and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves. Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be the slave of Japheth." After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. Let's go all the way back to 7. So then, some people think this is a contradiction. God says you are to bring the ark to of all living creatures to keep them alive with you. And then God goes on to say, "Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird." To me, that was kind of like, I mean, it does make sense. It's like, just because he's bringing 7 pairs, he's still bringing 2 pairs of every living creature. It's like if God first said, it's the context of what he says. Sometimes like the first, "You will bring 2 of every creature," is just kind of like the big picture, kind of like the narrative of the story, looking in at the story. Like the example is in Genesis 1. The narrative of the story goes through all 7 days of creation. Then in Genesis 2, it goes back in time and like kind of a zoomed in picture, and then goes and explains Adam and Eve and explains more in detail. So we could look at it as if this was the narrative. God says 2 of every kind of animal just because that's easier to say. And then goes zoom in picture, and then is like, "Hey, take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal." And like I said, 7 pairs is still 2 of every kind, but it's just he's adding. But the clean animals bring 7. which we'll see later, he uses the clean animals to sacrifice to the Lord, which is pretty cool. I'll get into that in a little bit. So many points. One thing, like human brain thing that we always think about is like, how did he get the animals on the ark? But if I go to 9 and the covenant, 9:2 says, "The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth, and on all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and all the fish in the sea." So to me, that's God saying that before Noah got off the ark, the creatures didn't fear him. Like, just like Adam, we see like Adam was best friends with all the animals. It said God brought each animal to Adam, and Adam named them. So it would have been it wasn't like, yeah, I don't know. I wonder. This is just a guess. I wonder if even animals killed each other, like if there was that food chain yet. Because maybe they didn't, and that would explain like. Sorry, something popped up on my computer. Um, Now I lost my train of thought. That would explain. It would be easier for Noah to have all the animals on the ark if they didn't, you know, attack each other and kill each other. If they all kind of lived together, because we know before this, God commanded them to only eat the vegetables or the plants. I mean, because then in 9 it says, "Now, just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything to eat." So they can now eat meat and plants. So I don't know. That's just kind of a fun thought. That's an NNP. I think that's an NNP. It's kind of fun to think about. Like all the animals are. Noah's just chilling with all the animals in the ark, and then all of a sudden they're all terrified of him after God says that. They're all like, "Oh shoot, we got to go scatter wherever we go take your places," and then they all go to the places that they reside in nowadays. Yeah, rain 40 days. Oh yeah, does it say? I think if you take Noah's age, or something, Noah didn't build the ark in 7 days. It was like years and years that Noah built the ark. I just don't know what the actual number of that is. But he sent the rain for 40 days and 40 nights. So 40 days, and then it was total of Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth. He was 500 when he had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. He was 600 when the floods came. And I don't know when that was in between. The also interesting thing, people say how Genesis 2 Yeah, 2:5. For the Lord had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground, but streams came up from the earth. So this is, I think it's just a guess that this is the first time that rain actually came down on the earth versus just the waters coming from streams and stuff. Which the funny part about that for me is the kind of the thought of these people on the earth being terrified of like the waters falling from the sky. Like that's crazy. The springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were open. I wonder, like, the floodgates of the heaven. Like, does that just mean rain? Or is that, like, something more specific? Like, a literal flood from heaven. But it does say the floodgates of the heavens were opened and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So it's just kind of the same way how when God split the waters of the heaven from the waters of the earth, and the vault was sky, or in King James said the vault was called heaven. Well, the waters of the heaven would be rain. Like I wonder if there's any more deeper meaning to that. Let me ask ChatGPT a question real quick. In the Bible, how many feet is 15 cubits?
A cubit is generally considered to be about 18 inches. So if you multiply 15 cubits by 18 inches per cubit, that gives you 270 inches. Then to convert inches to feet, you divide by 12, which gives
Thank
you
you.
22.5 feet. So 15 cubits is
I actually saw, as I was asking it, I do have a footnote in my Bible that says that's about 23 feet. So the flood, the waters rose, all the high mountains under the heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains. Oh, okay. That I was thinking for a split second. I was like that's not that deep, but it covered the mountains by 23 feet. It didn't just cover the earth on 23 feet, but it covered the highest mountains by 23 feet. Everything perished. It is kind of sad to see that, to think about that picture in my mind of everything being destroyed. Really thinking about that, and also as I was reading this, kind of hit me like, imagine being Noah on that ark and thinking, okay, this made me think of like, the scenario that everyone always makes up of like, what if you were the last person on earth? And it's like Noah was literally, obviously his family, but they were the last people on earth. And not only the last people on the earth, but the earth was literally being destroyed and flooded. Like nothing was left. And just to like try to put myself in Noah's shoes and think about that is just like, I'm gonna be honest, kind of terrifying. Only Noah was left. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days, which is like 5 months, 6 months, 5 months. I don't know. it's crazy to think about. It would be cool to see a Noah movie. There's probably some out there, but I don't know. I like Angel Studios and The Chosen in them. I like the way they do it. It would be cool to see a Noah movie, and quite terrifying to be honest. But God remembered Noah. Not that he ever forgot Noah, because he's God, but we know that God needs to comfort us. And I mean, we need comfort and we have God. So God comforts us. We need that comfort. Imagine, okay, back to my conversation. Noah was the last person on earth. Imagine how lonely they felt. Imagine how imagine how depressed they were on that boat. Like, obviously they had faith in the Lord that he was working everything out, but like just the thought of no one else being left on earth, like, whoa, that had to be so mentally just depressing. But God remembered Noah. He didn't just destroy the earth and forget about everything. That's more of a narrative statement. Someone might use that against to be like, well, if, God had to remember him, but it's more of a narrative statement reminding us as the reader, like, hey, God didn't forget about Noah. God remembered Noah and the animals. And he sent a wind over the earth. That's kind of interesting. He receded it by wind. Water receded steadily. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And then the tops of the mountains became visible. So that's again, looking at the narrative, we see it talked about the full 150 days. The water had gone down and it rested on the Mount of Ararat. But then it goes back to after 40 days, Noah opened a window. So it was like the big picture of the whole ark. This is what happened. Then it goes back and zooms in to Noah. And this is what happened to him. Because I assume that the window that he opened was like he couldn't see anything. Like it had to be completely closed up. So he just had to like let that dove out. That's why he needed the raven and the dove to see what was going on out there. So he sent out a raven and a dove, which I think there's some symbolism there with maybe the New Testament, but I don't actually know what that is, so I'm not going to try to go into that, but I'm pretty sure there's symbolism there. Going back, uh, one of my favorite things, I'll say it infinite times, but my favorite thing is God's poetic nature throughout the Bible. Um, One specific thing is through Numbers, not the book of Numbers, but literal numbers, specifically repeating the same numbers. So Noah was in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights. Um, And then it says Noah, you know, it took 7 days. He waited 7 more days and sent other, like he waited a week and then sent the dove out again. And then going up to Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Um, was it was the Israelites in the desert for 40 years? How long did the Israelites wander the desert? About 40 years. It's like God loves to use the symbolism and be poetic, and I love that about him. One thing interesting is when the water dried up, it just says Noah removed the covering from the ark. And like I'm imagining this huge boat, like the cover, like the roof, like he removed the roof. Like how did he? How long did it take him to do that? Like, that's obviously something that I can't have answered, but it's just like that's funny to think about for me. Like, oh, let's remove this. Well, I suppose like they had that huge ramp that they built up to the ark and the door, and God shut the door for them, so they really didn't have a way out. So I wonder, what if like the boat tipped over and they had to remove the roof to get. I'm just kidding, but I don't know. That's interesting. And then God told them like, "Hey, you can come out of the ark." And bring with you the creatures. Don't just leave them there. So that they can multiply on the earth. God always had a plan throughout everything. Even when it seemed bleak, even though he destroyed the whole earth, he kept two of every animal. He kept Noah's family so that they could replenish the earth and start again. Which worked pretty good. Worked pretty darn good for God, for the humans, considering that act is why I'm here, why you're here, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like that God's faithfulness to Noah allowed me to be here right now. I love it. This is a point that I've never noticed before until right now that I absolutely love. But Noah built an altar. It just says then. So we don't know. It didn't say immediately Noah built an altar, but I have to believe that it was pretty much right away. Like Noah survived, and Noah built an altar to the Lord, taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds. He sacrifices. So like one, that's how. Obviously, he could have waited for them. He could have waited years, waited for them to breed, have the babies, then took some clean animals. But if it was right away, God told him to bring some clean animals on. And God could have used it as a test for Noah. Like, why did God need him to bring 7 pairs of the clean animals? Like, maybe it was because God was maybe testing. This is just a theory, but like, whether God tested him or not, so cool to see Noah. The first thing he does is praise the Lord. And Noah being a human, he could have just like hogged it all to himself. Like, I gotta make sure that everything goes right. I gotta make sure all the animals breed. But no, the first thing he does, and we know that this is what we're supposed to do as Christians for offering to the Lord, is our first fruits. And even though there's only 2 of every animal, well, even though there's only not very many of every animal, he sacrifices them for the Lord. just like that's the way I want to live my life. It makes me think of Peter, and not to call out Peter, but how Peter always tries to control the situation. Like Jesus is like, I have to die, and Peter's like, no, we won't let that happen. Thinking of godly things versus earthly things. I think if I'm thinking last person on earth, it's like I have to do everything I can to make sure all these animals survive and prosper, and we gotta keep as many as animals as we can. But no one knows that God is in control, and so he sacrifices, or he uses the animals as offerings to show the Lord, to praise the Lord through everything, which is so cool. And the Lord smelled it and said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground. And because of Noah's faithfulness, God created that covenant, which is kind of crazy. Like, we have the choice to be faithful or to not be faithful. And God will use our faithfulness as long as that's what we choose. And Noah decided to be faithful. And in that, God made that covenant with him and made him survive and made the human race survive. And then said, never again will I curse the ground because of humans. Even though, not that Noah was perfect, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, which we know. We know that we are a slave to sin. But God, in his mercy, will never curse the ground again. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. Never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. Well, that's reassuring. I'm glad. And as long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. That's interesting. I'm not going to get into global warming, but it made me think of that. Like, are our winters going away because of global warming? But God says, as long as the earth endures, cold and heat, summer and winter will never cease. Now, I don't know if that goes along with it. I don't do research on global warming. Sorry for bringing it up, but just a thought. Then, of course, we have the rainbow promise. Very, can be controversial in today's world with the whole rainbow going around. But it started out as God's promise. It still is God's promise. And I would sure love seeing a rainbow. I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing a rainbow. It's beautiful. And then, yeah, we have God telling he says, now the fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth. So this is kind of where animals start getting scared of humans. And they are given into our hands. That's what he says. And now we can eat meat. Now we can have a nice juicy steak. Noah can have a nice juicy steak. But he still gives us commands because we need commands. Otherwise, it's chaos and there is no good and evil. So we need commands in order for there to be good. And obviously that brings evil with good. But you must not eat meat that still has lifeblood in it. And then for your lifeblood, I surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal, and from each human being too, I will demand an accounting. Saying that if you murder someone, now this is another iffy topic to talk about. Because yes, this verse is used in the death penalty topic, that it says, whoever sheds human blood, by humans their blood shall be shed. And there's a lot more to that, so I'm not here to get into that, but it's interesting. The one thing I will note is it's interesting how it mentions that for animals. The animals also must be accountable, because we've had humans be killed by animals before, and God's gonna hold the animals accountable for that, which is kind of interesting. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. There's a lot. It does take a while to go through the Bible, huh? I love how much I'm studying it, but I'm going to finish studying this on my own. But if you're here, thanks for watching the whole video. I hope you learned something. And stay tuned, because I would love to do this more.